Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 67 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the hot, humid, and beautiful confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as Substack. Excuse me. Hopping right into this episode, guys, we're going to touch on NFL training camp news and notes. Some of the things that I caught throughout the week leading into today's preseason games. Actually, currently checking right now. It's 15 minutes after 12. So, Jaden Daniels already started. A couple of those games already started. So, I'm kind of touching on some of this a little bit late. Some of this stuff is a little bit early. Some of this stuff is a little bit in between. So, hopping right into it. We're going to start off with some of the weaker teams. One of the weaker teams in the league, and that'd be the Carolina Panthers. Their star wide receiver, young receiver Xavier Leggett, young draft pick they got this year, suffered a foot injury earlier this week in practice, and come to find out it wasn't a fracture or anything of that. But there is no timetable for his return. He definitely didn't play in the preseason game Thursday, and he's considered day to day. Don't know how that really helps Bryce Young any, because that's just another weapon that's not on the field. But the situation you're in when you're in a bad team ran by bad ownership, so. Hopefully Xavier Leggett can get better and help Bryce Young out, because Bryce Young is definitely going to need him. Speaking of Bryce Young, he didn't play in the opener either, which I thought was a good idea. That offensive line is terrible. I still don't really trust it, and until I really see him, complete passes behind the line that can block more than 2 seconds, then yeah, he should definitely, then he should play in the preseason game. But outside of that, I thought it was a good idea. You don't want this kid's confidence being damaged any more than what it already has. I mean, let's be honest. You got him beat the shit last year. You made him look like one of the worst draft picks ever, and it was literally because the talent around him was garbage. So shout out to Bryce Young. Hopefully he can definitely turn it around this year. Going into somebody who will be actually playing today is Jordan Love, which I think is actually dope. Jordan Love's going to get some burn. Jordan Love got burned last year in the preseason. A lot of people thought it's just because, he hadn't started. I personally, maybe I'm old school in this way of thinking, but I personally feel that if you're a football player, the only way you get prepared for football is by playing football. So if you're not, practicing like that, you're not playing like that, and I'm just expecting week one because you're a player, you're just going to roll out the gates and be ready, and then you're injured or you play inconsistent or you play down to your competition, it's just... hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. So, credit to Jordan Love. Credit to him for making sure that he's doing the requisite things to make sure this Packers team is ready. I keep reiterating to you guys, and I've spoken to several people I know, my brother also being one as a Packers fan. This team will be ready this year. This team is coming in focused and with a different mindset and approach. The Eagles played on week one. I'm anxious and excited as an Eagles fan about that game, but make no mistake about it. I'm a little nervous because why? This Packers team is ready. And I really feel like that they're definitely ready to make that ascension this year. So definitely good to see that Jordan Love's getting some burn. Knock off a little bit of that rust. Anything that you're going to need going into that first game in Brazil against Philadelphia. Going further, we're going to go into a division rival of the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, who, sad to say, throughout earlier this week had lost cornerback Emmanuel Mosley to a torn pectoral. So I think this goes without saying that cornerback, which was already a position that I thought the Lions need to keep an eye on, definitely need to keep an eye on now. With Emmanuel Mosley being out for the whole season, I wouldn't be shocked if I see them making another move for a corner. Just keep an eye on that market, especially as camp cuts are happening and deadlines being worked out. Just keep an eye on that whole thing, because Detroit has a team that's proud to make a run now, and cornerback play being deficient or inefficient is something that could definitely inhibit them from reaching the goals and heights that they want to reach. Especially after last year reaching that NFC Championship game, you don't get back to there or anything than that. It's considered a failure. So. Hopping right into Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels getting his first start today against the Jets. I have an episode talking about some of these guys and how they did in their starts. Definitely be talking about this one too. I'm very excited and anxious to see how Jaden Daniels plays. He's been one of the best young players in college football now for a couple years. Definitely, like I said, Heisman candidate, won the Heisman. Like I said, happy and anxious to see him play. I don't like the fact that he's playing in Washington, but I think this kid can definitely be the real deal and be the next best thing, especially for the Commanders. And more importantly, too, because I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, I'm very anxious to see how Cliff Kingsbury works the offense with them. Because, again, a lot of vanilla game plan, nothing exotic. You're really just trying to see if guys can understand what they're doing. That being said, if he really gets a grasp of it, I'm anxious to see what he calls play call wise for Jaden Daniels. Moves in on out to the greater, I don't want to say greater Northwest, but the West, period. Going towards the Rockies. We're going to Denver, y'all. Going to the Denver Broncos. This one kind of caught me off guard initially because I was at work when I got this message, but I kind of realized it a little bit after I read it. Broncos, Sean Payton has announced that Jarrett Stidham will be the starter for today's game. Zach Wilson is the backup, and that Bo Nix will be quarterback number 3. If any of you who have intelligence, a left and right side of a brain really believe that Zach Wilson has outplayed Bo Nix in camp, or that Jarrett Stidham has just outshined Bo Nix, excuse me, to a level of proportion that we've never seen, I would sell you an island in Iowa. Yeah. This is all to protect the quarterback. You know, I have an article that I'm going to be writing about on Substack. Shameless plug. I will tell you guys I have an article that I'll be bringing out shortly on Substack in regards to this pattern that I've seen for about 20 some odd years now, where, especially within the past 10, where you get a coach who drafts a guy high, and you know he drafted the guy high, you know he needs this guy to play well, but yet we're going to go through this bullshit, game where he's not the starter, he's got to earn the starter. You guys, I don't know if you guys remember back when Baker Mayfield was drafted by the Browns, and Hugh Jackson went through the whole spiel of, we called you in, we want to let you know you're going to be the backup. I don't get the whole thing with that. You don't want to just, I get it, you don't want to just hand a guy a role, but you make it so hard to believe that, like, oh, he's that bad, he's that terrible, and then you're giving explanation. It's just all a crock of shit in the show. But for now, Bo Nix is the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart. I'm supposing at some point he will work his way up to the starter and prove that he deserved it. We were all shocked that he was a mid-high first-round pick and he became a starter. They're only people that they're bullshitting is themselves. So I don't know. But nonetheless, they're not the only ones that do it. Hopping on the MVP of the league, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson spoke on his weight and some of the reasons why he reduced his weight going into the season. And I thought it was very interesting comments because something that he said, and now it makes me realize that's probably what may have been the issue outside of injury. Lamar was asked on the reason why the weight loss, and he said, quote, "I was fat and slow, and I needed to get my speed back." I agree with Lamar because, in all honesty, and this is no disrespect to Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and L'Jarius Sneed and the boys in Kansas City. L'Jarius Sneed obviously is in Tennessee, but last year he was obviously with the Chiefs. There's no disrespect to them at all, but if Lamar just runs a couple of those plays, we're talking about the Ravens in the Super Bowl. So it's more or less what Lamar didn't do than what what Pat and the Chiefs did. So, there's no mystery that we all know that the Ravens choked that game and should have won. But I'm glad that Lamar's taking onus. He's realized he's got to get that speed back. I'm interested to see how he deals with taking hits, because I thought last year he was able to take hits because he had that extra body armor, that extra muscle mass and water weight, but he felt he was fat and slow, so we're going to see. And he won MVP last year being fat and slow, so we'll see how that all develops out for Lamar Jackson. It's going to be a pivotal and crucial year for him as well, because make no mistake, the pressure is on. You didn't get the job done in the AFC Championship game. You haven't beaten Patrick Mahomes in a postseason game yet, so pressure's on. Going a bit further, staying with the Ravens, they were able to bring in veteran wide receiver Russell Gage, formerly of the Falcons. This could be a camp body. This could be just another depth move. But Russell Gage has played well in spots in this league. Not really a household name, not well-known guy, but serviceable. So understand why the Ravens grabbed him. Going up the Northeast Corridor, up I-95, we go to New England, where I saw something that kind of disturbed me on Thursday, but it shouldn't disturb me when you have a team that is probably going to win 5 or 6 games. Let's just state it for what it is, right? You played all 4 quarterbacks, and we still don't know who the quarterback is. Drake May, he looked all right. Didn't really show nothing too special. Need to see more. Bailey Zappi, I mean, poor bastard got booed through most of his drives and snaps. Joe Milton, they got guys, joking, talking about Bazooka Joe and talking about how he has a rocket arm and they're gelling off other Patriots fans. And, it's rough times in New England because, it's amazing when you've had consistency for 20 some odd years and you've been the pillar of winning in the standard. And now you're no longer the standard. And it's very interesting how, lonely the bottom is. But, yeah. And then Jacoby Brissett, I mean, we already know what Jacoby Brissett brings. More of nothing, nothing spectacular at least. So, yeah, kind of came away from the first game realizing, like, the Patriots really don't have a quarterback. They really kind of need Drake May to ascend because they don't have anybody. Going a bit further into more rookie quarterback bullshit from head coaches. We have here Vikings Kevin O'Connell stating, quote, Nick Mullins and J.J. McCarthy, and I got this via ProFootballTalk.com, by the way, guys. Kevin O'Connell, has stated, quote, Nick Mullins and J.J. McCarthy are both listed as QB2 on the depth chart. This just goes to what I was just stating. More of this bullshit. You drafted this guy in the top 15. Who the fuck are we fooling? Who are we fooling? Yeah, Sam Darnold's going to get his turn in the sun. The poor bastards played on bad teams. Played a little decently in Carolina. Flamed out there. Got to San Francisco last year. Played good Samaritan, good soldier. Good enough where Kyle referenced he got another job. This guy's going to play now in Minnesota. I'm going to be honest with you, though. We all know at some point the multiple interception games is coming and the bad play or the inconsistent plays coming from Darnold. So McCarthy's going to be in there. But to see Nick Mullins and McCarthy locked in at QB2, it's just more theater and bullshit. We all know that J.J. McCarthy's going to get past Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins has been a veteran in this league for multiple years. He's played under Kyle Shanahan's system. He's not good. He can run the system. He's not good. That's why he's there. And he's definitely going to get burned now because he's a veteran. But let's be honest, the moment that this kid shows he can run the offense, he's going to be the starter. So, again, that's why I'm going to bring this article out because I'm not done it yet. There's a lot of inserts and I'm still gathering on it. But like I said, within these past 10 to 20 years, just a lot of bullshit has been shoveled to us with regards to drafting a quarterback high and then, he's not going to play and, he's going to sit and learn. Yeah, right. That's why you made the investment to get a guy that high because it's not an immediate use. It's a use that you can use 2 years from now. Anyway, going a bit further, we have former Packers safety Adrian Amos signed with the Jaguars. Not too really much to harp on with this signing. The Jaguars needed camp bodies and they needed depth at the safety position. So Adrian Amos, when healthy, is serviceable. So good signing there for the Jaguars. This one here kind of caught my attention and was definitely interesting. Josh Allen spoke to several different media outlets, but he spoke 2 days ago now, say Saturday, so yeah, it was about 2 days ago now, spoke on missing Stephon Diggs and saying, quote, but he is happy with what they have there now. I'm going to be real with y'all. This man sound nervous. The closer and closer we get to this season, I think he realized, like, oh shit, I don't really have a legitimate number one. I really have to grow with these guys, and there's really going to be some growing pains. Which, again, could benefit Buffalo, could wind up working in their favor. But when you get rid of an elite number one receiver, we all tend to think because you got the quarterback, it's all right. We tend to forget, without the good playmaker out on the outside, not even great, because I'm not even equating Stephon Diggs to a great playmaker, but excellent, one of the top 5 route runners in the NFL, definitely a dog at the position. You lose somebody like that you're not replacing him right away with, no disrespect, Keon Coleman or anybody. Yeah, Keon Coleman, my man, I like him a lot. I wish the Eagles would have drafted him, but he's not Stephon Diggs. Like I say, he's Keon Coleman, so it'll be interesting to see, how Shakir develops, how a lot of those guys really develop. Because again, you got Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a good quarterback. He's pretty serviceable, pretty accurate, 4,000 plus yard quarterback, always in the MVP conversation. So it shouldn't be insurmountable. However, the fact that we're hearing this from him, and this is not the first time he said this, Have calls for pause, Bills fans. Just a little warning, early warning sign I wanted to give you. Going into another topic of mine that I thought was kind of funny. We're talking about training camp fights. Yes, and I mean camp fisticuffs. Yes. Lions and Giants got into a couple of skirmishes within back-to-back practices. Two most notable names of note that got in on the action was Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors. Now, in fairness, both happened on separate days. Daniel Jones' incident happened Tuesday. Malik Neighbors' incident happened Wednesday. That all being said, it led to a fist fight, which, again, guys have helmets on, so I don't know how much of a fist fight that is. Pretty fucking stupid that you're balling your hand up, hitting somebody with a face guard, when they can't feel it and you're going to break your hand, but whatever. Emotions are running high. Guys feeling some type of way. But it was good to see Dan Campbell and Brian Daboll kind of reel that in. You definitely want to see anybody getting hurt in that situation or taking it too aggressive. But I like the fight that the Giants are showing. Even if they're going to be ass, they're not showing that they're going to be soft. So I think that's good. And Dan Campbell, the fighting Dan Campbells, when they were losing, they were the biting kneecaps. Now we call them the Lions. This is a mark of a Dan Campbell team. Aggressive, tenacious, attacking, fighting through the whistle, fighting past the whistle. So again, a lot of credit there, but definitely good to see that, teams are able to reel it in. Then they going to the Pacific Northwest, you kind of had a similar situation going on with DK Metcalf. Swings a helmet at a teammate. It wound up hitting his teammate, Kayvon Wallace. Thank God Kayvon Wallace had the Guardian cap on. Didn't really, damage or hurt or do anything. He got DK Metcalf got into it one of the corners. This was after Derek Bobo had got into it with another corner and, got his nose bloody. So you don't want to see any of that. You want to kind of have like a level of control where guys are violent, but they're not trying to kill each other or hurt each other. But this is the reason why they get them so ramped up and so riled up, is because once they get on the field, they're ready to hit somebody. And you would just expect guys to be executed at a high level because they've been playing each other and practicing against each other for a month now. So at some point you get tired, holding on to you, popping shit, nagging. At some point it just wears on you. So definitely interested to see the camp fights. It's always good to see the guys who get involved. Like I said, shout out to Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. You may not be that great of a quarterback, but you definitely shot the fade for your teammate. That was good to see. Malik Neighbors, not backing down. Kind of got slapped all up a little bit, but, didn't back down. And, just a fight and a tenacity that you definitely wanted to see from the Giants if you're a Giants fan. Like I said, DK Metcalf, rounding that up. Mike McDonald has said that DK Metcalf has spoke with the team, kind of, apologized, and they all kind of like realized and stated that, quote, that we got to work together, that we need each other healthy, and that any of us hurt, it just hurts the team and hinders us from our goal. Which again, I when the camp fights break down, the guys kind of realize afterwards, like, yeah, that was kind of stupid. I tried to hurt them, and we need them to win. But cooler heads prevail. Staying in Seattle, Coach Mike McDonald said that he doesn't expect Geno Smith to play this weekend. With Geno battering through injury and also being a veteran, don't really know how playing this weekend would have helped Geno at all. Maybe knocking off some rust, but that could really wait to the second or possibly the third preseason game. No real need to really put him out there now, especially when you got a bunch of guys who aren't, and in fairness, aren't NFL players, aren't probably going to be on NFL rosters, and are looking for opportunity to stay. And if they smack the shit out of Geno Smith and injure him and put him on his back pocket and make a fumble and make a play out of it, they now have a career. Geno's possibly out, sitting on injured reserve the rest of the year. So I get it. And also, too, the Seahawks don't really have a backup plan outside of Geno Smith. They don't really know who their quarterback is. So, interesting times in Seattle. Going a step further, we got Kirk Cousins taking our trip down to the ATL. Kirk Cousins has stated that, and Kyle Pitts has also reiterated, he stated to Kyle Pitts that he is pushing him to use his length and speed to get open and make plays, which I agree with. The way Kyle Pitts' frame is set up, he should be a guy that could easily command, 15 targets a game and catching 12 to 13 of them, easily getting somewhere between 60 to 100 yards receiving. This guy should be posting these type of numbers consistently, whether it's Arthur Smith's offense, whether it's inconsistency or losing energy or losing attentiveness. I'm not sure what it is. We're going to find out now that he has a quarterback this year. We're going to find out. But sky's the limit for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is another one. Pressure's on. High pick from a couple years ago. Played decent. Hasn't really panned out. what's really becoming of him. Is he good? Is he not good? Like I said, definitely happy to see that Kirk Cousins is pushing Kyle Pitts and that he's leaving no stone unturned and making sure that this kid is giving his all to be the best player they could possibly be. Going a step further, we're going to mosey on up to Chiefs Kingdom. I want to give a shout out to Harrison Butker, a legendary kicker for the Chiefs. Agreed to a 4-year extension worth 25.6, excuse me, talking too fast. 4-year extension for $25.6 million. Definitely great to see that. Harrison Butker is one of the best kickers in the league, in my opinion, top 3. So him getting that extension, it's money well spent if you're the Chiefs. He's going to win you some more games, possibly some postseason games this year. So money well spent. This one I got via ProFootballTalk.com. Both these articles and NFL.com confirmed. The Patriots have released Juju Smith-Schuster, which again, no shock there. Juju Smith-Schuster is washed. Knee has been shot since that last Super Bowl run with the Chiefs. He got a ring. He played well. God knows, I wish Bradbury wouldn't have held him, but I digress. As an Eagles fan, I digress. But anyway, Juju Smith-Schuster, after that Super Bowl with the Chiefs, we all kind of knew he was done. Knee hasn't been the same since. Don't really know, outside of collecting checks in New England, what the hell he was doing the past year or two. But smart move by New England. You need bodies and guys that can play and be playmakers on the outside. And Juju's not it. Juju hasn't been that for a while now. At least 2 or 3 years. So credit to the Patriots for, cutting their losses when they needed to. If you're Juju Smith-Schuster, at this point, just retire because your knees are shot. Your knees are shot. Speaking of knees, we're going to get on Mike Williams, former Chargers wide receiver, current Jets wide receiver, who is still recovering from that torn ACL that he suffered last season. And he spoke on the grind and preparing for next season and, quote, he will see about being ready for week 1 and that, to prepare for the grind is a lot. Like I said, I have the clip posted within this episode so you can read the quotes. But, and I have also a link within the description so you can see it. But I think it's hilarious because he's a guy that I kind of forgot about where it's like, oh shit, yeah, Mike Williams is there in New York. Where he plays well, damn, this could really work. This all is incumbent on the offensive line and can they keep Aaron protected? If that offensive line can't keep Aaron Rodgers protected and they can't allow him to do what he does, which is work the magic that has helped win him MVPs and be in the MVP or Super Bowl conversation throughout his career, then it's null and fucking void and this team's not going to go anywhere. So, needless to say, Mike Williams, glad to see that he's getting healthy. Glad to see that, he's trying to get back on track for week 1. I personally think he'll probably be back after week 5, being when he suffered the injury, but we'll see. Guys push it all the time. This one was a very interesting tidbit. This one came out during the middle of the week. It was dressed to us as a great restructure. When really it was, it was dressed to us as a possible extension / restructure, but really it was just a well-dressed restructure with a little bit of bells and whistles attached. And what do I mean? Matt Stafford getting his money from the Rams. It was well documented that Matt Stafford was pissed with the Rams. He had kind of wanted, a new contract, and he had been harping on it about length, speaking to it at length. Well, it seems like Les Snead and Sean McVay finally were able to get him in the office to sit down and work something out. This is what essentially the restructure equated to. So you tell me what you think. Currently, he's still playing under the deal from 2022. So it's an extension from 2022 to 2026. Excuse me. This year, Stafford will earn a base salary of $23.5 million and a restructure bonus of $12.5 million. So essentially, he got a $12.5 million kick, a little boost or injection in cash to make him feel better. Didn't get the contract extension that he had hoped for, but got some little monetary, at least some monetary incentive. Now, what I thought was also interesting too, where you could tell that the Rams are definitely locked into Matt Stafford. He's carrying, while this is all, that signing bonus at $12,500,000, that's all while carrying a cap hit of, let me make sure I get this correct, $46,166,666. And that's just a current cap hit. Now, if he was to get released, let's say in 2026, the Rams feel like, all right, Matt shot, there's no way we can get off, there's no way we could trade him. We got to get off this deal. We just got to get rid of him. You still got a dead cap value of $95 million, and that can be split over 2 years. But you're paying a lot for a guy who won you a championship, yes, but hasn't really done shit since. So injuries, yes, inconsistent offensive line play, all of that I get. But it's just very interesting that they gave him this type of money. Wasn't really giving the extension. Do they have somebody in the wings? Not sure. But nonetheless, like I said, potential out for the contracts 2026. Cap hit would be 22. Now, here's where things kind of work out for him. If they get rid of him now, dead cap value, it says $95 million, which is an egregious amount of money. However, and I want to reiterate this to make sure I'm clarifying it. However, the potential out for this contract, the potential opt-out is 2026 for the Rams. His dead cap hit would only drop down then to $22 million. So you can see they're lining it up where within the next year or two, they find their guy or they groom the guy that they think will be the next heir apparent. And then when that time comes, hey, Matt, thanks for everything, Matt. You're the best. Thanks for your tenure with the Rams. Thanks for that championship. Fuck off. That's just what I feel, honestly, this is all setting up to be. And I'm pretty sure I'm right on that, but we'll see. And then hopping on to probably the last two most dysfunctional teams in football at this moment. I want to take my time with this one, so I'm going to start off with the San Francisco 49ers first. It has been a rough week for the San Francisco 49ers, I think, without a doubt. First and foremost, Brandon Aiyuk requested, and it seems like his trade request is going to be granted. Seems like he's gotten his wish. Several teams have definitely inquired. The Browns, Steelers, and Commanders. Seems like that Steelers deal might be the one that might be the low-key quietest. It might be getting done strictly because Pittsburgh doesn't have a receiver to give San Francisco, but they have the draft compensation. So for San Fran, your question is, are you going to be honest with your fan base and admit, hey, we're probably not going to win it this year, but we're going to be damn competitive. And we're going to probably have that replacement coming in next year. Or are you going to say, you know what, we need a receiver no matter what. Doesn't matter about the draft compensation. We need somebody that can help us win games now. Maybe it's an Emmanuel Sanders move from a couple years ago. Just get a guy, play out the season, and if you don't pay him, whatever. But rough week so far for the Niners and Brandon Aiyuk. Like I said, my personal opinion is either going to be the Steelers or the Commanders. I think the Browns, they had a trade in place, but I don't think that they agreed to that. The fact that we all know Amari Cooper was on the block and it didn't happen, I think that trade is just kind of like disappeared. But definitely, I think he's either going to the Steelers or Commanders. So, and going a bit further into this, we gotta admit, and I notice this that people do this with Nick Sirianni. They do this with Mike McCarthy. They do this with some of the coaches that they don't like or they feel like aren't really good. Kyle Shanahan has gotten a pass, and I've said this to family, friends, constituents, anyone who will listen. Kyle Shanahan has gotten a pass through this whole situation. We have to be honest. He fucked this up. You have fucked up the top of your drafts. You haven't drafted well. You found most of your talent in the bottom halves of your draft. No complaints that you're finding talent. But if you find talent at the top half plus the bottom half, set your team up a lot further going forward. He's not a great evaluator at the top of drafts. I think that's pretty evident. He's made some horrible draft picks there. Solomon Thomas, the list goes on. But Tim Kawakami from The Athletic, and I'll have that article within the description so that way you can read it. This is an organizational failure, top to bottom. Whether you're John Lynch, whether you're Kyle Shanahan, whether you're the Yorks, the whole market and the whole way this has been seen has been miscalculated. And there was this false narrative, that this false dichotomy that Kyle Shanahan pitched where we could just get the band back together and we're going to do it for one last hurrah. Dude, that shit doesn't work. That shit doesn't work. It barely works. It works in basketball, but football, unless you're Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you tried to pretty much keep this shit together with Band-Aids and glue. You had fucking guys getting injured in the Super Bowl. Drake Greenlaw's tearing his ACL. You're trying to hold this together with scotch tape and bubble gum. And in all fairness, Kyle Shanahan and the organization, they look incompetent. They look very incompetent right now. You didn't gauge the situation properly at all. You were willing to pay him $25, but you weren't willing to pay him $32. You're saying you don't need him, but you're also saying that you need a wide receiver back because you can't be without one. They gotta admit, when this trade does go down and they do get him out of the building, they have to admit they fucked this up. There's no way you get rid of a talent like that. And then I hear people use the analogy, well, in the Super Bowl, It wasn't like he was targeted like that. Yeah, that's because your bum ass quarterback was throwing it to the football player Deebo Samuel instead of giving it to the wide receiver that was the second team All Pro and arguably your best offensive weapon outside of Christian McCaffrey. This is why all this blew up in their face. But again, I reiterate, Kyle fucked up, and he fucked up. Trying to bring the band back together after that Super Bowl loss again. When you tried to do that before again and it didn't work, I just didn't understand the logic in it. It just made no sense. Then you add on top of this, shit Sunday, Christian McCaffrey is dealing with a calf strain and is expected to miss the entire preseason games and will also miss practice for several weeks. So he's injured again. God knows where that's going to take us. And in fairness, Christian McCaffrey is always injured and plays through it. So I'm not really shocked too much there, but a calf strain is not something that is light. If the calf is already tight and tender, you run and you pull it a little too much, you rupture it or anything like that. Now the 49ers and you, Christian McCaffrey included, are up shit's creek. So definitely something to keep an eye on with that. The fact that and this also was reported by Mike Silver in the San Francisco Chronicle. The fact that Kyle Shanahan is stressed out by this whole Brandon Aiyuk situation. It just speaks to the incompetence and how, as much as a genius we would like to credit him, he's very incompetent and doesn't really know all of what he's doing. And because he has ultimate say over the people around him and his word dominates their word, a lot of shit gets missed. For lack of better words, a lot of shit gets missed. But then to add this last cherry, again, to this 49er shit Sunday, Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, who everyone, not me, but everyone gloated about, late first round pick out of Florida, going in Kyle's offense, deadly weapon, deadly threat, as if he already had played a 17-game season in the NFL. He's going to do this, and this. Looks very Deebo reminiscent. Only had 900 some odd yards receiving last year. He has had a 1,000-yard season in college before, but in all honesty, in Florida, it was a heavy passing attack. Didn't really run the ball too much. That was even when Anthony Richardson was there. They didn't really run the ball too much, more of a passing attack. But, again, he's Ricky Pearsall, injured his shoulder in practice. And this is already coming off the fact that he started camp on the non-football injury list with a hamstring injury. So you got injuries galore, guys holding out, your coach your coach and your GM not paying guys, being stuck on their regiment, You gave McCaffrey the money, but you didn't make sure Aiyuk got paid. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is, but in regards again to Ricky Pearsall, Shanahan claims it was a precautionary move. However, the timetable for his return wasn't given. So if it was a precautionary move, this guy's had a hamstring injury and a shoulder injury. More than likely, Kyle's shutting him down into the regular season. He's not going to take any chances, especially being that this guy was a high pick for them, and they're more than likely going to need him, being that they're getting rid of Brandon Aiyuk. And, him and Deebo essentially play the same type of position. It's just he's more of a burner, more of a vertical threat than Deebo is. So, interesting times in Niner land. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Anyway, last but not least, this one touched my heart. And I wanted to make sure I hopped on this and gave this the respect and due diligence it deserved. P.T. Barnum, a.k.a. Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, gave a scathing, startling, and quite stupefying response to a reporter yesterday in regards when asked about CeeDee Lamb and getting CeeDee Lamb's contract done. Quote, When Jerry Jones was asked by a reporter on CBSSports.com, what is the sense of urgency to get CeeDee Lamb's deal done? Quote, I have no sense of urgency in regards to getting CeeDee Lamb's deal done. I went to high school. I went to college. I don't know why I said it, but I'm just saying it. What the fuck are we talking about? We know he gonna pay this man. This is all Carnival Barker, P.T. Barnum-esque shit. And I'm glad Cowboys fans that watch and like and subscribe to the show, definitely I appreciate it. I thank you guys for, the context and being honest and stating like, no, this is Steven, I'm telling y'all now, y'all will not get anywhere until you have severe organizational changes. Whether Jerry relinquishes power, we'll see if that even ever happens, or if Steven, uses the right side of his brain and realizes, oh shit, we actually do have to spend money on some of these free agents instead of just trying to worry about the draft. Maybe then the fan base would believe some of this shit. But for him to say he has no sense of urgency, and then right after that, you got the receiver tweeting, laughing out loud when he's being asked by a reporter from The Athletic, and then you got your quarterback stating that he feels a sense of urgency to get him back in there. Man, this is about to be a shit show in Dallas. And I'm trying to prepare anybody who's listening, anybody who knows, batten down the hatches, be ready. Because Jerry told you in the spring, he told Dak, he told Mike, you got to do more with less. And I just feel like ultimately this is just one big ass setup for Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. And damn, you don't even you're being sarcastic, facetious, whatever term you want to use, about paying your guy who had 137 catches and 1,700 plus yards last year. That's the guy you're being facetious about. Now, whether you feel those numbers are inflated as I do, that's your opinion. But regardless of what, he was still a Pro Bowl receiver. He was still an All-Pro. And not having a sense of urgency to get his deal done when we're, in the beginning of August, and games start in like 3 weeks. Yeah, no urgency. Cowboys fans, I feel for y'all, man. This is going to be a rough-ass year for y'all. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Again, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as Substack. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for always watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Make sure you check out the NFL preseason games over the course of this weekend if you got time. And there'll be another episode coming back up. I won't lie to you, possibly Sunday night after I do a review of some of the games, some of the things, rookies and some of the players that stood out to me. Be a lot of football watching this weekend. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I thank you as always. Take care and be safe.